Why would we construct society upon the ideas of competition and individualism if the only way to eliminate mutual struggle is by mutual support? As Kropotkin quotes Wallace, "Do not compete. Competition is always injurious to the species, and you have plenty of resources to avoid it."
64,000 is the median number of words per book. Average person reads about 200 words per minute. Simple math will tell us that is one book in 320 minutes. To accomplish this in 7 days, numbers say you would have to read for 45 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification button, like, comment, and share. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Book of the Week series. Every week as I read another amazing title, I share it with the world. My name is Igor S.F. Walker, and today we look at mutual aid, a factor of evolution, by Peter Alekseevich Kropotkin. So how about you slow down and relax? Reduce all that noise for just a bit. Make that choice and decide to listen. In this video, we explore the role of mutually beneficial cooperation in both the animal kingdom and human species. The book acts as an argument against the theories of social Darwinism that focus on survival of the fittest and competition. Instead, Peter Kropotkin discovers that mutual aid is better and has more advantages for the future of animal and human communities. Stick around till the end. I will share with you some tools I do have and use that will help you tremendously in this game of life. Discover a way to find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. I will share some tools to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. I saw mutual aid and mutual support carried on to an extent which made me suspect in it as a feature of the greatest importance to the maintenance of life, the preservation of each species, and its further evolution. I saw when animals have to struggle against scarcity of food in consequence of one of the many causes, the whole of that portion of that species which is affected by the calamity comes out of the ordeal so much impoverished in vigor and health that no progressive evolution of the species can be based upon such periods of keen competition. All endeavored to prove that man, owing to his higher intelligence and knowledge, may mitigate the harshness of the struggle for life between men, but they all recognized at the same time that the struggle for the means of existence of every animal against all its congeners, and of every man against all other men, was a law of nature. This view, however, I could not accept because I was persuaded that to admit a pitiless inner war for life within each species and to see in that war a condition of progress was to admit something which not only had not yet been proved, but also lacked confirmation from direct observation. Kessler's idea was that besides the law of mutual struggle, there is in nature the law of mutual aid, which for the success, for the struggle for life, and especially for progressive evolution of the species, is far more important than the law of mutual contest. You see, it is not love and not even sympathy upon which society is based in mankind. It is the conscious, be it only at a stage of an instinct, of human solidarity. It is the unconscious recognition of the force that is borrowed by each man from the practice of mutual aid, of the close dependency of everyone's happiness upon the happiness of all, and of the sense of justice or equity, which brings the individual to consider the rights of every other individual as equal to his own. We have heard so much lately of the harsh, pitiless struggle for life, which was said to be carried on by every animal against all other animals, every savage against all other savages, and every civilized man against all his co-citizens. And these assertions have so much become an article of faith that it was necessary, first of all, to oppose to them a wide series of facts showing animal and human life under a quite different aspect. It was necessary to indicate the overwhelming importance which sociable habits play in nature and in the progressive evolution of both the animal species and human beings, to prove that they secure a better protection from their enemies, better facilities for getting food and winter provisions, migrations, etc., longevity, therefore a greater facility for the development of intellectual facilities, and that they have given to men, in addition to the same advantages, the possibilities of working out those institutions which have enabled mankind to survive in its hard struggle against nature and to progress, notwithstanding all the vicissitudes of its history. Struggle is replaced by cooperation. And how that substitution results in the development of intellectual and moral faculties, which secure to the species the best conditions for survival. In such cases, the fittest are not the physically strongest, nor the cunningest, but those who learn to combine so as to mutually to support each other, strong and weak alike, for the welfare of the community. Those communities which included the greatest number of the most sympathetic members would actually flourish best and rear the greatest number of offspring. These remarks, which might have become the basis of most fruitful researchers, were actually overshadowed by the masses of facts gathered for the purpose of illustrating the consequences of a real competition for life. Besides, Darwin never attempted to submit to a closer investigation the relative importance of the two aspects under which the struggle for existence appears in the animal world. And he never wrote the work he proposed to write upon the natural checks of overmultiplication. Although that work would have been the crucial test for appreciating the real purpose of individual struggle. As soon as we study animals, not in laboratories and museums only, but in the forests, in the prairies, in the steppe and in the mountains, we at once perceive that though there is an immense amount of warfare, extermination going on amongst various species, and especially amongst various species of animals, there is, at the same time, as much or perhaps even more of mutual support, mutual aid, and mutual defense amongst animals belonging to the same species, or at least to the same society. Sociability is as much a law of nature as mutual struggle is. Of course, it would be extremely difficult to estimate, however roughly, the relative numerical importance of both these series of facts. But if we do resort to an indirect test and ask nature, who are the fittest? Those who are continually at war with each other? Or those who support one another? We at once see that those animals which acquire habits of mutual aid are undoubtedly the fittest. I obviously do not deny the struggle for existence, but I do maintain that the progressive development of the animal kingdom, and especially of mankind, is favored much more by mutual support than by mutual struggle. All organic beings have two essential needs, that of nutrition and that of propagating the species. The former brings them to a struggle and to mutual extermination, while the need of maintaining the species brings them to approach one another and to support one another. Mutual support among individuals plays a much more important part than their mutual struggle. If we knew no other facts from animal life than what we know about the ants and the termites, we already might safely conclude that mutual aid, which leads to mutual confidence, which is the first condition for courage, and individual initiative, which is the first condition for intellectual progress, are two factors, infinitely more important than mutual struggle in the evolution of animal kingdom. The ants in their thousands are not much destroyed by the birds, not even by the anteaters, and they are actually dreaded by most stronger insects. The same is true as in regards to bees. These small insects, which so easily might become the prey of so many birds, and whose honey has so many admirers in all classes of animals, from the beetle to the bear, also have none of the protective features derived from mimicry or otherwise, without which an isolatedly living insect hardly could escape wholesale destruction. And yet, owing to the mutual aid they do practice, they obtain the wide extension which we know and the intelligence which we admire. In their combination, they're often more successful than man when he neglects to take advantage of a well-planned mutual assistance. By combining their individual intelligences, they succeed in coping with adverse circumstances, even quite unforeseen or unusual. Life in societies is no exception in the animal world. It is actually the rule, the norm, the law of nature. And it reaches its fullest development with the higher vertebrates. Those species which live solitarily or in small families only are relatively few. And their numbers are actually limited. It appears very probable that apart from few exceptions, those birds and those mammals which are not gregarious now were living in societies before man multiplied on earth and waged a permanent war against them, or destroyed the sources from which they formerly derived food. Association is found in the animal world at all degrees of evolution. Colonies are at the very origin of evolution in the animal kingdom. But in proportion as we ascend the scale of evolution, we see association growing more and more conscious. It loses its purely physical character. It ceases to be simply instinctive. It actually becomes reasoned. The combination sometimes appear in 2 or more degrees. The family first, then the group, and then finally the association of groups habitually scattered but uniting in case of a need. Life in society is the most powerful weapon in the struggle for life. Taken in the widest sense, has been illustrated by numerous examples. Life in societies enables the feeblest insects, the feeblest birds, the feeblest mammals to resist or to protect themselves from the most terrible birds and beasts of prey. It permits longevity. It enables the species to rear its progeny with the least waste of energy and to maintain its numbers, albeit a very slow birth rate. It enables the gregarious animals to migrate in search of new abodes. Therefore, fully admitting that force, swiftness, protective colors, cunningness, and endurance to hunger and cold, which are mentioned by Darwin and Wallace, are so many qualities making the individual or the species the fittest under certain circumstances. We maintain that under any circumstances, sociability is the greatest advantage in the struggle for life. Those species which willingly or unwillingly abandon it are doomed to decay, while those animals which know best how to combine actually have the greatest chances of survival and further evolution, although they may be inferior to others in each of the faculties enumerated by Darwin and Wallace, save the intellectual faculty. The highest vertebrates, and especially mankind, are the best proof of this assertion, as the intellectual faculty, while every Darwinist will agree with Darwin that it is the most powerful arm in the struggle for life and the most powerful factor of further evolution, he or she will also admit that intelligence is an eminently social faculty. In some cases, no doubt, there is actual war between the two, the stronger killing the weaker. But this is by no means necessary. And there actually may be cases in which the weaker species, physically, may actually prevail by its power of more rapid multiplication, its better withstanding vicissitudes of climate, or its greater cunning in escaping the attacks of common enemies. In such cases, what is described as competition may be no competition at all. One species succumbs, becomes exterminated or starved out by other species, but because it does not well accommodate itself to new conditions which the other one does. The actual number of animals in a given region are determined not by the highest feeding capacity of the region, by what it is. Every year, under the most unfavorable conditions, so that, and for that reason alone, competition hardly can be a normal condition. But other causes intervene as well to cut down the animal population below even that low standard. When first meeting with primitive races, the Europeans, the West Europeans, usually make the caricature of their life, but when an intelligent man has stayed among them for a longer time, he generally describes them as the kindest or the gentlest race on earth. Process of evolution has been going on in mankind with a wonderful similarity. When the clan organization, assailed as it was from within by the separate family, and from without by the dismemberment of the migrating clans and the necessity of taking in strangers of different descent, the village community, based upon a territorial conception, came into existence. This new institution, which had naturally grown out of the preceding one, the clan, permitted the barbarians to pass through a most disturbed period of history without being broken into isolated families which would have succumbed in the struggle for life. New forms of culture developed. Under the new organization, agriculture attained the stage which it hardly surpassed until now, with the great number, the domestic industries reached a high degree of perfection. The wilderness was conquered. It was intersected by roads, dotted with swarms thrown off by the mother communities, markets and fortified centers, as well as places of public worship were actually erected. The old conception of justice, which were conceptions of mere revenge, slowly underwent a deep modification, the idea of amends for the wrong done, taking the place of revenge. The customary law, which still makes the law of the daily life for 2/3 or more of mankind, was elaborated under that organization, as well as a system of habits intended to prevent the oppression of the masses by the minorities, whose power grew in proportion to the growing facilities for private accumulation of wealth. This was the new form taken by the tendencies of the masses for mutual support. When we do examine the everyday life of the rural population of Europe, we find that notwithstanding all that has been done in modern states for the destruction of the village community, the life of the peasants remains honeycombed with habits and with customs of mutual aid and support. That important vestiges of the communal possession of the soil are actually still retained. And that as soon as the legal obstacles to rural associations were lately removed, a network of free unions for all sorts of economical purposes rapidly spread among the peasants, the tendency of this young movement being to reconstitute some sort of union similar to the village community of old. For the last 300 years, the conditions for the growth of such institutions have been as unfavorable in the towns as they have been in the villages. It is well known, indeed, that when the medieval cities were subdued in the 16th century by growing military states, all institutions which kept the artisans, the masters, and the merchants together in the guilds and in the cities were actually violently destroyed. The self-government and the self-jurisdiction of both, the guild and the city, were actually abolished. The oath of allegiance between guild brothers became an act of felony towards the state. The properties of the guilds were confiscated, and in the same way as the lands of the village communities and the inner and technical organization of each trade was actually taken in hand by the state. Laws gradually growing in severity were passed to prevent artisans from combining in any way. But what formerly was the vital force of medieval life, an industry, has long since disappeared under the crushing weight of the centralized state. There's the gist of human psychology. Unless men are maddened in the battlefield, they cannot stand it to hear appeals for help and not to respond to them. The hero goes, and what the hero does, all feel that they ought to have done as well. The sophism of the brain cannot resist the mutual aid feeling, because this feeling has been nurtured by thousands of years of human social life and hundreds of thousands of years of pre-human life in societies. In short, neither the crushing powers of the centralized state nor the teachings of mutual hatred and pitiless struggles which came, adorned with the attributes of science, from obliging philosophers and sociologists could weed out the feeling of human solidarity, deeply lodged in man's understanding and in man's heart, because it has been nurtured by all our preceding evolution. What was the outcome of evolution since its earliest stages cannot be overpowered by one of the aspects of the same evolution. And the need for mutual aid and support, which had lately taken refuge in the narrow circle of the family or the slum neighborhoods or in the village or in the secret unions of workers, reasserts itself again, even in our modern society, and claims its right to be, as it always has been, the chief leader towards further progress. In the animal world, we have seen that the vast majority of species live in societies, and that they find in association the best arms for the struggles in life, understood, of course, in its wide Darwinian sense, not as a struggle for the sheer means of existence, but as a struggle against all natural conditions unfavorable to species. The animal species in which individual struggle has been reduced to its narrowest limits, and the practice of mutual aid has attained the greatest development, are invariably the most numerous, the most prosperous, and the most open to further progress. The mutual protection which is obtained in this case, the possibility of attaining old age and of accumulating experience, the higher intellectual development, and the further growth of sociable habits secure the maintenance of the species, its actual extension, and its further progressive evolution. The unsociable species, on the contrast, are actually doomed to decay. And there you have it. Mutual aid, a factor of evolution. Please, do help out. It is easy. Simply like this video so more people can enjoy it. Share it too and spread the word. Do leave a comment and share your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel and stay up to date. And the link to this book is in the description below. So buy it, read, never stop learning, especially learning about yourself and nature. So gift yourself by taking the free human needs test on my website and find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. And if you feel you are ready to improve your self-awareness, your social awareness, your self-management, and your relationship management even further, do check out my Master of Life Awareness program. The links are in the description below. Thank you. Love and respect.